Constitution. Kimmel's back today, terrific, but trying to abuse the FCC to go after his political enemies. And that this is maybe politically the right fight, healthcare, but it's not the truest, danger in our society right now.
So I think of this as nothing succeeds like success. You got to get some wins. Mm-hmm. You got to show that you can stand together, you can stand up when the going gets tough, that you can still all push hard, because that's how we're going to have to take this fight on. I think that, for example, today with Kimmel, yeah, you're right. Kimmel's back, and yay, that's wonderful. So what's going to be the takeaway? Did it fix everything? No. Should we still be beside ourselves over a president who so openly has made it clear that he wants to control the media, the stories about him, and destroy the First Amendment? And my view on that is no, we should not relax over any part of this. But there's another part to the takeaway, and that is your voice actually matters. Enough people stood up, enough people went into the streets, found it different ways, enough comics stood up, enough people hung out flags, enough people said, whoa, wait a minute, what happened? That's not right. And yes, it's a small piece of a big, big problem, but it's a toehold on reminding ourselves of our own power. And I think that's what's coming up at the end of the week on this question about healthcare. We get more people energized, more people mobilized, and we push back. Two good things could come out of this. One is a few million people could get healthcare coverage who otherwise wouldn't, and some rural hospitals wouldn't close, and some cancer research would be restarted. Those would all be good things all by themselves, no matter whatever else happens. But the second is we'd all say, oh, fighting pays off. And look, I'm willing to fight. That's who I am.
Yeah.
But we win when we've got a lot of us fighting, when we've got a lot of us committed, when we've got a lot of people who've seen how dark and scary it can get in the middle of a fight, and who still realize that it is worthwhile to stick together and stay in the fight. So I think we should do it. I think we will do it. And I think the consequences of doing it, it doesn't win everything everywhere all at once. Mm-hmm. But it gets us on a winning path, and damn, we need that.
And you feel like there's 43 of your colleagues that aren't going to squish?
I do. I do.
All right. So in other news, TikTok legally banned since January, but in a completely lawless way. It's still been chugging along. We now have more details on the new deal via Axios that Trump may announce this week. The algorithm would be leased to a new company owned by billionaire Trump allies. So, problem solved?
Oh, totally. Look, this is the ultimate about the price we pay for corruption. And it's Donald Trump trying to seize media and every possible vehicle. So, yes, getting his buddy Ellison in there, and they run it, and it all, guess what? Every algorithm says Donald Trump is the guy, right? But it's bigger than that. It's how this country has shifted so dramatically. And I don't want to go from the country was perfect and now the country is terrible. It's the country had a lot of problems, and now, man, you thought those were problems. They have just magnified. And it's the corruption element. You see it by what does it mean to build an oligarchy? Vladimir Putin puts his buddies in to run things that will make his buddies billionaires, but also means the buddies will use the power and energy of the things they run to support Vladimir Putin. That's the deal. And Donald Trump, big admirer of Vladimir Putin, wants to control, yes, he wants to control the media, but he wants to control everything, right? He's cutting deals with NVIDIA on their chips, right? He wants a piece of the action. He wants to control because he wants to get something back from these guys. He wants money personally. You want to do the crypto play here. But he wants all of these billionaires, all of these tech CEOs, all of these CEOs come in and bend the knee to Donald Trump, offer Donald Trump a, what did they used to call it in Roman times, a tribute?
Wants to get his beak wet, let's say.
That's right, wants to dip his beak, isn't that the phrase? And give Donald Trump something. And then, lo and behold, your giant purchase gets approved, your merger gets approved. If you're a foreign country, your tariff gets approved. If you're just a giant international company, your tariff exception gets approved. Right? Your license, your broadcast license remains viable. So Donald Trump is trading the things that are valuable to our nation off to a handful of individual corporate actors for the purpose of increasing Donald Trump's political power and his personal finances.
So there's two sides to this. One is Donald Trump, through a lot of bluster, has convinced corporations to give him power he couldn't take.
Yep.
Right? We've seen that with Disney. We've seen that with others. But the other side of it is that these corporations, universities, media outlets, law firms, they're not afraid of repercussions from people that believe in democracy, right? There was no actual organized campaign to boycott Disney. It seems to have happened naturally as people took in the news, and maybe Disney was hopefully caught off guard by that. But Columbia wasn't afraid of its alumni when it went into a deal with Trump. Are we doing enough, those of us that believe in democracy, to lay out the ways in which we will hold companies and institutions accountable for capitulating to Donald Trump? And are there things we should be talking about more?
Yeah. No, we're not doing enough. And yes, there are things we should be talking about a whole lot more. And let me just tie it back. That's why I see the Jimmy Kimmel as just a tiny little spot of light. I don't want to oversell, but it is some light and should remind a whole lot of people, wait, our voices matter here. And it's the same thing about this upcoming showdown over shutting down the government. Look, this is the moment. I say this to everybody in the country right now. This is the moment. If you can't think of somebody whose healthcare you're willing to fight for, your own, your cousins, your neighbors, if you can't do that, just think about Donald Trump's power overall and the Republicans' power overall. How they could agree among themselves, with no Democrats with them, to take away health care from 15 million Americans, shut down these hospitals, drive up costs for everybody else. Why? So they could hand out $1 trillion in tax breaks to a handful of billionaires and billionaire corporations. Get your blood boiling over this. We have a moment. And sometimes you need those moments. You need those moments where people will speak up. You know, in fact, I want to give you a little piece of this. I get it. It's not always that here's the rally starts, at 10 o'clock on Saturday. I love it. I love the protests. I love the rallies. But it's lots and lots of ways. Where I've spent the last week has been with podcasters who are in the healthcare space. They're not politicians, but man, they care about access to healthcare. They care about access to healthcare for little babies, and they care about it for people in nursing homes. This is a moment